learn through the misfortunes of others. I'm Uncivil Law. Hope you're having a great day. I'm here in Houston, and Anime Matsuri kicks off in about an hour. Hour 15, I think, is when gates open. So just got a little bit of time to kill. Arrived just before things kicked off, and I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll see how that all goes. And yeah, just having a good time. Just got here, easy drive. Fortunately, no muss, no fuss from Austin. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone who's in Houston. So sort of the working plan for me personally is I'm going to spend the mornings, for the next several mornings, looking at some apartments in the Houston area because I'm looking at moving out this way in like January, February timeframe. So the convention I don't think opens until like noon every day. It opens at 3 p.m. today for the start of the festivities, but I don't think it starts till noon. So basically the working plan is to spend the mornings, like I'll wake up, still at like 7 or something and try to like get in a couple apartments, in the morning, have lunch, go to the convention and either be there when it opens or shortly thereafter. And I'd be there, throughout the most of the day. So that's sort of the plan, right? The mornings, apartment hunting, or at least apartment surveying for sort of understanding some potential places I could move to. And then in the evenings, afternoons, Matsuri, and then everything what's going on. I haven't found my watch yet. Nothing yet. It's going to be hard. I want the Neptune version, which is apparently the hard version because everyone likes that deep blue. But yeah, I haven't found it. I haven't gone looked yet. I haven't gone to the store yet. So I suppose I could do that rather than talking to you guys. So maybe I'll talk to you for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll bounce to the store and see what they have. So we'll see what's going there. We'll see. It's a hard watch to find, but we'll see. I'm not expecting it to be there, but we'll see what we can do. So that's sort of the plan. And then, of course, just kind of in terms of like the Anime Matsuri itself, just kind of like walking the floor. There's a little YouTube area. I'll be there a lot, I imagine. Be walking the floor, checking things out. And then in the evenings, hopefully hanging with some of you guys, getting some drinks, also hanging out with Legal Vices, Ricada, Legal Mindset, Aussie, who's somewhere in Houston. So hopefully I'll hear from him and start getting some information. We'll start hanging out together and having just a fun old time. So that's kind of what's on the agenda for now. And also just kind of looking forward to a couple days off. This is a little bit of a vacation. So I'm just looking forward to a couple days off where I can just like chill out and relax and, not have to like hustle as much. So that's kind of nice because, it'd be nice just to have a vacation. So I'm pretty excited about all that. So that's sort of what's going on right now. Yeah, so for those of you who are wondering about the Moonwatch thing, Swatch has done a collab with Omega where they've done watches based on the planets and also the sun and moon. So they have and also Pluto, which isn't a planet anymore, but they don't care. So they've got, what is that, 11 watches in the series? Well, yeah, because also Earth is included. So that's all 9 planets plus the sun and moon, so that's 11. So they did a collab based off of the famous Omega Speedmaster, which was the watch that, was worn to the moon. And of course, Omega has been, lauding that, for the last, 60 years. And so they did a collab with Swatch where they did a joint thing. This phone is just going to keep falling down because I didn't bring a stand because I'm a moron. But that's okay. I didn't bring a phone stand for it, so we'll press on. So yeah, anyways. And so they are all based off the planets, and they're different colors, for the different planets. And Neptune, I think, is the coolest because it's got this dark blue, deep blue thing going on. And so I need some counterweight in order to prop this up on this table. That's what I need. God damn it. What I need is a phone stand. That's what I need. But I didn't bring my phone stand because, I'm an idiot, I guess. I haven't moved to Houston yet. I'm thinking about moving in February. $1,000, the watch is $270. The watch is $270. So it's not that expensive. You know, the classic Omega is like, I forget how expensive they are. They're like $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. I forget how expensive it is, but yeah, you can buy the Swatch Collab for like a tenth of the price. And so it's like, yeah, I'll get the Swatch Collab. So that's where we're at. Use a water bottle. I don't have a water bottle at the moment. I'll have to buy one. Maybe when I'm out and about, I'll buy a phone stand. I'm sure I can pick up one relatively cheap. It's always nice to have another one. Appreciate that, Brenda. If you'll be at Anime Matsuri, I'll be happy to meet with you. And a lot of your other favorite law tubers will be there. I'm in Houston for Anime Matsuri. It's an anime convention. I don't really care about the anime as much. The only anime I really watched was I watched Dragon Ball Z back in college. Back when they were still doing like the Frieza series and it went on forever. And so I watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and a little bit of Dragon Ball GT. And I watched my favorite one, which is of course Cowboy Bebop, which is a little bit basic, and the weebs will look down on me for liking for liking Cowboy Bebop, but that's okay. I accept their judgment. It's still a good story. It's still a good show. So the theme song, of course, is Kick-Ass. So I'm not really big into the anime, because that's the extent of my anime knowledge. It's like, okay, my anime knowledge is basically I watched pretty much all of Dragon Ball Z, a significant amount of Dragon Ball, and a very little amount of Dragon Ball GT, and also watched Cowboy Bebop. That is my anime cred, which for this crowd is kind of loser territory. But I'm really here, of course, to meet up with Nick and Aussie Overlord and Legal Vices and Legal Mindset and all those people. So the real reason I'm here is for the collab with everyone. And also because a lot of you guys will come to meet Nick to meet you guys. It's a good opportunity to do a meet and greet. So that's what I'm going to sort of do, just meet up people and, go from there. And we'll go from there. So that's where the plan. Now you want a fancy $270 watch? See, it's a good watch. It's a good watch, and it comes in a lot of cool colors. And comes in a lot of cool colors and a lot of stuff. Do I have a particular part of Houston? Probably something on the west side of Houston. Probably on the west side of Houston. Probably near the city limits somewhere. But I'm a little bit flexible. I'm flexible. I haven't decided exactly where. But I'm going to look at some stuff on the west side of Houston. So, yeah. You like the Uranus one? That's cool. A lot is going to be driven by economic factors. I'd like to find something that's relatively inexpensive. Since this whole YouTube thing is what's, floating my budget. So I'd like to find something that, where I can save some money. So a huge factor of it's going to be based on where I can live more inexpensively. Aren't they liberal in Houston? Yes, but compared to Austin? I mean, Austin is the Democratic stranghold, so I don't know which is more liberal between Houston and Austin. You guys can debate amongst yourselves. A washcloth isn't a bad idea. A washcloth isn't a bad idea. I'll go to the dollar store and see what I can do about a phone stand. I'm sure I can find one that will work. I just need to work for a couple days, right? Doesn't need to be super fancy. Yeah, right, no contest to Austin, yeah. So isn't Houston liberal? I'm like, well, compared to Austin? I think it's a step in the right direction. Am I going to get together with Eric Hunley and Mark in Montgomery, Alabama? no one has brought it to my attention. So I haven't been informed about it. So if they give me information, maybe. But this is the first I'm hearing about it. I'm gonna get some Shipley's donuts. Never heard of them. Maybe we'll see. I'm feeling particularly like fat today, so maybe not as much. Saltwater fishing. I haven't moved. The plan, the working plan, the working plan is moving in February. That is the working plan. So I'm going to look for some apartments, at least to sort of get a lay of the land of some stuff and see what's going on, you know. So hopefully I can view maybe, half a dozen apartments while I'm here. You know, if I could visit like 2 or 3 every morning, that would be obviously really cool. So try to, get them, try to get some apartments first thing in the morning and try to do, 2 or 3 in the morning before going to Anime Matsuri. Maybe I can visit like 6 to 10 and just sort of get an idea of at least, some of the things that we be talking about. You know, do you get a vote? Absolutely not. You know, do they have my gym company in Houston? Yes, they do. Yeah, so I won't be taking you on specific apartment tours. Just I won't be giving you more specific information because I want to maintain more privacy, obviously, as a potentially arguable public figure. I'd like to maintain privacy and already had at least one person try to track me down in person. So I don't want to make it, more obvious about where I live. So if I simply say like, okay, I'm looking at something on the west side of Houston, that covers a lot of territory, right? That covers a lot because anyone who, especially anyone who knows anything about Houston, it's like that's a lot of place. The west side of Houston, you say, okay, can you narrow that down a little bit, right? So, like, no, I can't narrow that down. I don't want to narrow that down. So it's like, yeah, no, I won't be talking about specific apartments I'm looking at. I won't be talking about specific places I'm looking at. I won't be narrowing it down anymore than saying, I'm looking at places in Houston. Just sort of like the same way, like now it's like, okay, I'm in Austin. Austin is a lot of town. So I don't feel like I'm giving too much away by saying, okay, I'm living in Austin or I'm living in Houston, because that's a lot of territory. So for very pragmatic reasons, I won't be giving away any more information than is necessary. I suppose it isn't strictly necessary that I give away as much information as that, but I figure like it's like that's kind of narrowing it down. And like even Jimmy of Mr. Beast, like he's like, well, he somewhat famously lives in Greensville, North Carolina, which is a much smaller place, and he's able to maintain enough privacy and security, with that. So, you know, I figure if Mr. Beast can keep his privacy in by just saying Greensboro or Greensville, North Carolina, I can keep my privacy by saying, okay, Houston, Texas. Figure it out from there, right? Also, please don't. My favorite anime is Cowboy Bebop by far. Cowboy Bebop is my favorite by far. Some really great episodes in there. And then they tried to make a TV show out of it. Or a movie out of it, and I wanted to die. A live action thing. Least favorite that I've tried to watch? Oh no. I don't watch a lot of anime. Have you watched Demon Slayer? No, I haven't seen that. Cowboy Bebop is a anime about a sort of want-to-be bounty hunter in the future who is sort of going from job to job, sort of a discredited uh, guy who is sort of living on the very edge, sort of financially, kind of living impoverishedly, uh, who is sort of he doesn't have a great reputation, and he just kind of looks from thing to thing, and some of the tales is just like really interesting, like some of the stuff and some of the stuff he's trying to pursue. It's kind of like he's a wannabe private eye. It's kind of got this film noir thing going on about it. It's sort of very sort of like it reminds me a lot, and I couldn't say exactly why, but it reminds me a lot of like an early 20th century film noir private eye movie. I half expect the guy, the black and white with the guy with the hat and the dame come in and be like, "Oh, Mr. So and So, can you help me? You're the only one who can help me." It's got a little bit of that like film noir vibe to it, which I kind of like. And it's also very emotional in a lot of ways. It's got some really interesting stories. Some of them are really sad, make you think. It's good storytelling. Demon Slayer gives you plenty of reasons to care about the character. Okay, I'll look into it. Anyways, if you're in the Houston area for the next couple of days, if you're going to be at Anime Matsuri, send me a Twitter. Send me a Twitter and let me know you're going to be there, and maybe we can try to coordinate meeting. I can't promise anything, obviously, because I might be busy, but, if you send me a message, and I happen to see it and be like, okay, I'm going to be here from this time to this time, I'll try to sync up. Your best bet is just to try to meet up with me at the YouTube area. I'll probably be hanging out around there. I don't have my own table. I don't really want one because I don't want to be around. I don't want to be like stuck in one place for several hours because like I committed to that. It's like that's a bad idea. Like because those people with those tables, like they're expected to be there at the table so people can meet and greet them, which is fine. It's like I don't want that much responsibility. So I don't have a table because I don't want to sort of be stuck in one place. But it's probably the best place to find me, or walking about the convention floor. Class was fine today. Thank you for asking. Improv and the other acting stuff is pressing on, man. We're still doing all that stuff. We're still doing that stuff and looking into other explorations as well. Like I started this new class today dealing with called the Meisner School of Acting. So that's kind of cool. And then I've got coming up, I think starting at the end of the month, I've got a class dealing with stand up comedy. And improv is something I've been doing for the last 6 months, and then also did when I was in DC and the Northern Virginia area. So like that's all been really interesting, and sort of all that, and sort of like I'm re-examining my schedule a little bit too, and sort of things because it's been a lot in some ways. So I'm sort of re-examining my schedule, but it's been fun. I've been having fun doing it. I'd recommend improv to people. It's a very interesting art form, to be sure. And improv also, strictly speaking, doesn't have to be comedy. You know, improv is most often associated with comedy, but it doesn't have to be comedy. You know, there's people that do improv Shakespeare. You know, they'll take a suggestion and they'll put together a Shakespeare play, or a play, I suppose, in the style of Shakespeare, because it's being written in real time before the audience. There's improv musical. There's people who do improv musical stat. If you want a good example of that, Hideout, or apologize, what's it called on TV? Dropout TV. Dropout TV, College Humor, Dropout. They've got a great improv singing group. And it's like really good. Like they can improv a musical. And they have singing parts and characters and everything. And it's like, it's really good. It's really good. It's like if you didn't know any better, you'd think it was rehearsed, but it's not rehearsed, which is a good sign. I mean, you know, it's it's amateur, but it's like it would come off as like a very experienced amateur play. But since you're writing it in real time before the audience, it's like, you know, that's pretty good. You know, I actually saw like an improv play with my parents in DC for my old group, where they did an improv like space drama. And I was like watching the whole thing, and I'm like, if I didn't know that this was improv, I wouldn't be able to tell. You know, I was so impressed by like what they were able to do. It's like if I didn't know they were making this up, I would think it was rehearsed. And so people can do a really good job with that, you know, when they're experienced with it. Improv is what salespeople do all the time. It's similar in some ways. It's similar in some ways. Also similar to what lawyers do in court to some degree. You know, with our oral argument or appellate lawyers. There's lots of crossover with the skill set. But yeah, improv doesn't have to be comedy. You can do improv drama, improv theater, improv musical, improv anything. I do improv YouTube. So maybe someday I'll offer classes. You know, when someday I'll offer classes, improv for YouTubers. I'll put together a whole curriculum and we'll create improv for YouTubers. How to take improv and apply it specifically in the domain of YouTube. Could be fun. Racket's toasts are legendary. Yeah, his eulogies, you're right. His Racket's eulogies or his toasts in general are just fire. He's really, really good at it. He is really, really good at it. Rackets is a good guy. I'm looking forward to meeting him. It's also one of the reasons I'm really interested in this acting school, because it's all about living in the moment and acting authentically in the moment. It sounds almost like definitionally true about what acting should be. in some ways, but the whole point of the school is to act authentically. Like the guy who came up with it, Meisner himself, has a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it like, acting authentically, or it's like, I forget exactly what he said, but he said something like, the Meisner school of acting is all about acting authentically in imaginary circumstances. It's so in some ways, it's like what an actor should be, because what is an actor? An actor, like on some fundamental level, it's very similar to method acting, I suppose, in some ways. Although method implies that you stay in character even when you're not filming. So method acting implies the imbuement of the character beyond when you're on film or set or something. It implies living the character. But Meisner also teaches something very similar. It's like, okay, it's all about like, what would this character do in real life if the situation were real? If the character were real and the situation were real, how would the character really act? It's acting without thinking. It's acting in an authentic way because it just flows from the nature of the character. So it is it's the character's character. They act consistently with their character. They don't have to think about it. They just are that. It is who they are. So like, okay, that's really interesting. And so improv has a lot of those same elements too, because improv is acting without a script, and so you're acting in the moment. And so there's a lot like, and I assume like stand-up comedy has some similar things too, like especially as you're dealing with audience reaction, or if you're doing crowd work or stuff like that, there's a lot of like living authentically, or living authentically through the character, or at least the character living authentically. And perhaps like a really good example of the character living authentically might be someone like Dr. Disrespect. Because I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that there's a substantial difference between Dr. Disrespect and the person who plays the character. But he plays the character so well that it seems authentic, which is a really good example of playing a character. It's like that it seems like it is him, but it's probably not. I mean, it could be, but it's probably not. He's just playing a character really well, so... yeah. Until they become the same, yeah, that can be a challenge. That can be like the worst thing. Yeah. And you see that sometimes with people who have to play a character, people who play a character for a long time. I'm trying to think of a good example of someone who this is true of. But that can be a danger because sometimes people imbue the character so long that they can't do anything other than become the character or be the character. And so to some degree, they have lost themselves in the role of the character. So there is a possibility, and I think it's definitely happened, where actors have lost themselves in a character. They become a caricature of themselves. So I think that's definitely a possibility for some people, yeah. So there is some line there to be had. I don't think it's exactly mental. It's just that, they've been playing the role so long, they don't know how to turn it off anymore. You know? So, yeah. There's probably a lesson in there about not lying in general. You know, because you'll confuse what the truth is. There's probably a lesson in there somewhere. Anyways, before we have to go way off the deep end of existential questions, we'll just, continue doing this for... I don't think I'm in any danger of that being the case for me. Well, I think it is possible. I think it requires a lot more. It requires a lot more abandonment of oneself for the character for much longer periods of time. So I don't think we're in any danger of losing the separation for the moment. So there's a cautionary tale to be had for sure, but I wasn't really planning on living my characters on an ongoing basis for like days and days and months and years at a time. So I think we'll be fine. Houston so far is good. I've only been here for a half hour, and this thing opens at 3. So I'm going to leave here in about 15 minutes or so to go to this thing. So if you happen to be in the Houston area, send me a DM on Twitter. That's the best way of getting in touch with me, probably. And we'll go from there. You can also spot me on the floor of Anime Matsuri because I'll be wearing the hat. I brought the hat. Should we put on the hat? The hat is the character, right? There you go. There's the character. Am I tall? I'm 6 foot tall. So I'm reasonably tall. So if you see someone wearing this hat, it's probably me. Alright, anyways, I'm going to sign off for now because I don't have very long. So I'm just going to, splash some water on my face and clean up a little bit before I head out the door. And then I got to head out the door in about 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And if I happen to see you down there today, then great. If not, I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all's well. Take care. Cheers and goodbye.